yeah, Rogan came through and was the first time we got to kick it with him. So it's a KFC Radio bucket list moment to hang out with Joe Rogan, who is exactly Joe Rogan.
Dude, it
made me like him so much more. Not that I ever thought there was any sort of shtick, but like he is as authentic as it gets.
Yeah.
Like it or hate it. There are plenty of people who think he's a meathead and don't like it or whatever. There's obviously
meatheads get a bad rap.
He's the best meathead in the world. Yeah. I say it endearingly. He's just like, we were talking about elk meat and knee surgery and MMA and like all the shit that he was talking about doing collagen treatments for your face with red light treatments, and I was like, holy fucking shit. He does this on the clock and off the clock. He does it for 3 hours at the show and then he just keeps doing it at the bar. It's crazy.
Dude, I was telling somebody, Lou, and I was like, dude, if I just told you this is what Joe Rogan was talking about when I met him, you'd be like, you're making that up.
The script gets rejected from Hollywood. If you guys wrote a sketch about Joe Rogan and you were like, all right, so Joe's gonna show up and he's gonna talk about elk meat and his compound and bow hunting and all this shit, I would be like, come on. Let's be a little realistic here. No,
it was 100% where I was like, so first of all, like he carries such a wake to him that like, first of all, I heard he was in the building, and I'm not a Joe Rogan fan, but I'm not I'm not a super fan either, right? So like I would think that doesn't. I'm not like but the second I heard he was in the building, your eyes just start darting. You're like,
it's like fucking Elvis
over there?
Shit.
Is he over there? Was he over there? Yeah. And then finally spotted him. You were talking to him already. You spotted him in the corner, and I think it was you guys like go over there. And I was like, I'm not going over there. I'm not going to interrupt Kevin talking to Joe Rogan. But then just like as we keep saying like we're not going over there,
you just start shifting over.
We're like, wait, why are we halfway down the bar right now?
It's like a gravitational pull. Like you're in Joe Rogan's orbit.
Like I said I don't even want to go, but I don't stop me. Like it was crazy.
I had a very awkward moment. Bert said to me, Rogan's coming. Have you ever met him? I said no. And he's like, you got to meet him. He's a great guy. He's going to love you guys. And I was like, cool. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. I was very surprised. As I understand it, Rogan's a pretty private dude and doesn't go out much. And this was a this was a bar. It wasn't like he had a fancy place. It was just a nice bar. But it was a lot of, I guess you come to realize everyone in the room's a billionaire, so it's not.
Yeah, I believe it is a members only bar.
Okay, so it is enough, but I was like, I feel like if Rogan walks in here, it's gonna be like a frenzy. So I don't know, maybe he comes, maybe he doesn't, and everybody was like, well, when Joe says he's gonna do something, he usually does it. Well, anyway, he comes and he's talking to Bert and Tom and all those guys, and so Bert makes eyes with me, and he does that, he looks over the conversation and kind of gives me a nod, and I was like, okay, I think it's time. So then I start walking over there, and by the time I get there, he's not looking at me anymore. He's just back in the conversation. And I don't know whether that was like, hey, pussy, just join the conversation by yourself or not. And I just kept going. and I walked up those stairs, and I pretended to take a phone call outside.
Oh, I saw that. Okay, because when we saw Rogan, I was like, wait, is that Kevin? No, he's outside to take a phone call.
I stood there for a second.
Yo, you had the phone out. You saw that shit.
I did the whole thing because I was playing the wall. I was just standing on the wall, and I was like, this is even more awkward if I'm waiting to get subbed into the game, So I was like, I'm gonna just go stand here, and then there was a bouncer there, and I was like, can I go outside? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I gotta take a phone call. And then I just stood there for 30 seconds, and I hung up, and it was locked from the outside, so I had to knock. And he came back in, and then I walked, and then I on the way back towards that little talking circle is when Bert grabbed me and said, I want to introduce you to somebody. So I was like, oh my god,
dude, I did the.
So it's so ridiculous. I mean, it's
not,
just.
though.
I mean, it is, but it's just so silly. It feels particularly silly. At the end of the day, Joe was one of the most gracious, humble, nice. It was silly to be nervous about him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
but it's not just because he's a nice guy. He's still it's all I hear is Tom Brady's a nice guy. Someone goes, yo, go talk to Tom. I'm like, what are you fucking crazy?
Nuts? I mean, I think I'll say this. I have a personal rule. I'm not just gonna roll up to anybody who has personal bodyguards with them. That's a whole other level. Like we've been around some famous people. I don't think we've ever seen bodyguards.
Well, people have brought bodyguards like to the office. Never just in public. Never just around.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have. I don't know, but I've seen bodyguards.
Like I was thinking about Hemsworth. He didn't really have. He was on. He was
But
like.
I'm sure they were there.
Yeah, I'm sure
Like,
you just couldn't even get close to that room at all, right?
Yeah.
Like in the lobby or whatever. Yeah. But those guys are awesome. Those guys. I feel like we should get those guys on the podcast. I don't even, probably not allowed, but like the Joe Rogan comedy mothership bouncers. At one point, this one guy, I think the only probably like normal guy in the room who was not somebody elite, came over and had a few too many and very awkwardly interrupted a conversation of Joe and Tom and Bert. And tried, and he was nice. He was like, "I'm a bussin' with the boy." Of course, the bussin' with the boys fan, just a total scumbag. And he was just, he was saying nice things, but when they just linger.
Yeah.
And they linger and they linger, and everybody was kind of like, "All right, dude." And the guy came over and gave him like the pat on the stomach, like, "Okay, it's time to go." And he still kept trying to be like, "Just wanted to say thank you." I was like, "Bro, you're about to get fucking tossed by a Navy SEAL. Just go, dude. Just walk away." But it's a funny thing to just be like. I mean, I have not been that awkward about meeting somebody in a long time.
Well, you were over there, and then Bert sent over a photographer to get me.
Yeah,
because he wanted to take that picture. So he like sends a photographer over.
Great picture, by the way.
And I like exactly kind of what you did. Where I was like very sheepishly going over there, and I was like, "This is so weird. This is so weird. This is so weird." And then we take a picture. And I kind of, Bert's like, "Fight, just get in here." And I kind of like just kind of mosey on in, and I get in the picture, and then the person I'm next to just looks at me and goes, "Who the fuck are you?" And I was like, "I can't wait for this picture to be done so I can get the fuck out of here."
It's hard to navigate because as we were pulling in, I was like, "Hey Joe, that's my co-host over there," but it was loud, and then no one's listening. I was like, I wanted this to be over so bad too.
But by the time I did meet him and we talked, and I was kind of on the outside, and there's a moon in the universe, and then eventually, I crashed into Earth, and my space metaphors don't go very long, folks.
You were a moon and you crashed into Earth. If we ever get on Rogan and we're talking about aliens in space, leave that one in the pocket, okay?
But like,
when you're a moon and you crash, Joe?
I was listening, and I exactly in my head was like, if I tell people, he's not gonna believe me.
You particularly had.
He's like, have you seen the guy's forearms? They fucking the size of a tree. And I was like, I like muscles. Who's he talking about?
Bro, in my head, I was like, I had a thought, and I was like, how can I talk to Joe about John's muscles? I wanted to be like, yo, I know a guy. He's got big muscles. We did this combine thing. He lifted a lot.
But he's like, and I was like, and then he's like, he pulls up a picture. To be fair, humongous muscles.
Are we not saying it? Okay, I was gonna say we're not saying his name for a reason. Yeah. We were talking about Steve Garvey, the ex-baseball player who now is a politician.
But that's when it really kicked in, when he was like, he's and he's a Republican senator from California, and he's winning. And I was like, hang on, we're talking about a guy's muscles, forearms, as a Republican senator from California, and then like, this is crazy. And then it goes, he's got an MMA frame. And I was like, no way.
It's as advertised. It's as advertised, man.
And then he shows me a picture. He's like, these things, they'd punch a hole in your fucking head. And I'm Joe, nice to meet you. And I was like, this is crazy.
To be fair, if you Google this picture of Steve Garvey.
Dude, the picture.
He has like abominable snowman, like Yeti arms. They're hairy and they're big. Makes the baseball bat look like a toothpick. And I was like, you are fucking right. Those are the biggest goddamn forearms I've ever seen, Joe Rogan.
Bro, that picture he was showing us was
preposterous.
It's a Twitter account. It's called Garvey's Forearms.
There you go.
And it's a very inactive one. It has one tweet ever.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. I think he probably just Googled what I Googled, which is Steve Garvey Forearms, and that's the one that came up, and that's just the profile pic for a Twitter account called Steve Garvey's Forearms.
It's absolutely incredible. There was like 3 or 4 times Rogan was talking about one of those guys. It's either Goggins or one of the healthy guys, the Navy SEAL guys.
Yeah.
And he was like, I kind of, was half out of this conversation. I come back in and he's like, they chopped the bone off his fucking knee and screwed it back together. And they said you might not ever walk again. And he's running hundreds of miles because he said, fuck you, bitch. And I was like, you are the man, Joe Rogan. Show me pictures of like the x-ray with the screws in his leg and everything. I was just like, I mean, that makes me so happy to know that none of that is forced or like, because that means he loves his life.
Yeah.
Like if there are times, I mean, we're pretty. I think we're a good example of it too, because I don't really get tired of the shit we talk about. But let's say Chicklets sometimes like I just don't want to fucking talk about hockey.
Yeah.
But we gotta for the podcast, Like that's what he wants to do, whether he's on the clock or off the clock, whether he's making millions or not. Like that's just what he does. So
Pavs had a great line to me when we were talking before. You were probably talking to him, and and he's like I'm probably. So I was explaining the whole thing about what we were talking about earlier. How like I was like I'm not even like a fangirl, but like my head can't stop looking for him.
Yeah.
And Pavs is like, dude, I'm like the biggest Rogan fangirl. And I was like,
oh yeah.
I was like, really?
I mean, I still am.
Yeah.
Definitely my top 5 people.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, I wish if I had known that, I would have made sure to introduce you.
I've actually been way too nervous.
But he's like, dude, he's like, in college, it was crazy. Like, it was just like, you kind of like smoke weed and listen to it. Like, it's kind of like frat boy. And, you kind of grow out of that. And I was like, into Barstool?
I was gonna say, oh, do you? Oh, you grew out of that? You grew out of that.
He's like, once I got to Barstool, I kind of stopped listening. He's like, yes, I listened to the aging ruminings of these two fucking masters of industry. Finally, some adult contemporary. John and Kevin, take it away. So I'm in this elevator, choking on a ghost.
Our last episode literally had a guy say, when was the last time you took a violent dump? That was the segment of our show. But I'm happy to know that you graduated to higher things, Pabs. All right, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Click that button.
Or I'll cut off my finger.